Good afternoon. I'm Dr. Ramachandran, working in Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education Research. So I'm presenting the brief
deliberation points of Group C. We took up catalyzing quality integrated academic health research through National Research Foundation and the National Education Policy 2020.
National Education Policy is a research institute of NRF, that is the National Research Foundation, under the Science and Technology Ministry, and it has given the necessary plan, and it is planned to be in proposal to take off in 2023 to 24. And the group discussed what will be the various aspects the NRF should take into account for promoting research, especially from the health education sector. So there is importance of research and innovation in academia, that is the policy. This includes healthcare research. It's not only exclusive healthcare research, it research in all the aspects, scientific research includes healthcare research. What the group initially discussed was there should be a mechanism where the application process should be very clear cut. The NRF should make very clear which are the institutions who are eligible for this application, what is the application process, and what are all the requirements with adequate time. And if there is any deficiency, anything, adequate time for the correction also, because these may be coming from institutions of varying capacities, so that they will be able to give the additional documents if there is anything required, and a transparent mode of communication in case there is some deficiency or something which can be easily rectified. So the application process should be very clear-cut and it should be very transparent. And once, of course, it comes as a body, statutory body, it will be probably available in the website. Now, coming to the major area of any research is the funding. So how an NRF should decide on supporting the particular research project? So this was deliberated by quite extensively, and the various things which are discussed under this was how the NRF can facilitate with the various things, like make very clear the funding, how much, and also a periodic revision of the funding. A funding cannot be going on at the same level for more than 2 years or so. There has to be a definite revision. That should be very clear. And funding should be separate for different types of groups of projects, whether it is a pure the scientific project, academic project, or it is a community project, or what kind of basic science project. So there should be a funding allocation which should be made clear to the investigator. Undergraduate and postgraduate studies, how the funding can be helped, that should also be made very clear. And what is the mission mode, or what is the priority area of NRF also should be known to the investigators. It may be something like they will be taking like very much or futuristic, or which is going to make a great impact on the community. So the researchers, the body of researchers should be knowing what are the thrust areas of NRF. And there should be facilities for the data repository, or holding some of the data which are available with the investigator, because sometimes the investigator institutions may not have that much facilities to store all the data. So the NRF should give some facilities, some help, hand-holding for data repository. And the funding should be made very clear, the process, whether it is an independent body, preferably, with all fairness and transparency. And of course, the investigators will be accountable to whatever funding is done. So they will be periodically, they will be revisited.
We just have Dr. Tripti who is going to leave immediately. So we thought we'll honor all the moderators together. May I request Ravi sir, our Senior Coordinator IQAC, to honor the dignitaries, the moderators of the thematic workshop. Dr. Tripti. Sir, please be there. We'll honor the other guests also when Dr. Tripti is as well there. Professor M. Krishnan.
yeah.
Thank you, sir.
The researcher takes up or completes a project, the problem comes in publication. So the NRF should help in publication also, because there are a lot of publication charges are involved currently. So that also should be part of the research. Without that, the research doesn't get completed. And NRF also should promote the specialty-wise journals which should go on, so that of good quality specialty-wise journals also should be promoted, so that the publication avenues are kept open. And lastly, the NRF should continue to handhold the institutions and improve the quality, and also improve the strengthen the researchers' base, so that they can do by various conferences and facilitating the collaboration between various institutions. There may be engineering, other technical institutions with the medical institutions. These collaborations can be facilitated by NRF, and also NRF can continue to promote the very high quality researchers by instituting awards, and continue to have good quality research by arranging many conferences. So this is in a nutshell some of the things which we discuss in our group in 4 aspects. One is the application process, second is the funding and how it is allocated, the third is publication, the last one is how the research is going to be promoted in various institutions of different caliber. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Thank you, sir. As moderator, Manoj Murhekar, sir, would you like to have a couple of words, please? As sir speaks, may I request the entire team 3 to come over to the stage, so that it would be a group photograph of team 3 along with the moderator.
Yeah, till the team comes, I'll briefly, in fact, Dr. Ramachandra has summarized almost all the points that we discussed. But let me admit that the time that the group had was very limited, and we couldn't give enough justice to all the points that were asked for this group to deliberate on. One important point probably was missed was the group very strongly felt that NRF should not discriminate or differentiate between private and government institutes. The funding should be based on merit of the idea rather than whether it is a government institute or private institute. So that, I think, is a very important message which probably we missed. And then we also were not clear as to what is the position of NRF as against different funding agencies or research bodies in the country like DST, DBT, DHR, ICMR, ICAR, and so on. So that was not clear. Somebody in our group also asked when it will be operational, and that we didn't have any idea. And I told them the discussion which I had during lunchtime with Professor SPT, that they told that, he told that the operationalizing NRF is being discussed and it may take some time. And then we also requested all the members in our group. There's a WhatsApp group created by Dr. Pankaj. Some ideas which could not be expressed in the group can be shared in the group, so that when a white paper is created, these ideas could be incorporated. But thank you very much, all the members of the group, for your valuable suggestions. Thank you.
Academic Bank of Credit System. The presenter of that team, can you please come over to the stage, please?
So good afternoon. The thematic workshop topic of our team was implementation of Academic Bank of Credit System. So what we learned that every student must have a DigiLocker account. And during the workshop, we were told that all of you make the DigiLocker account. And problem we faced is that we have to fill our Aadhaar card number, and sometimes we don't remember that Aadhaar card number, and that Aadhaar number should be linked to the mobile. That mobile number that you have to feed should be linked with the Aadhaar card. So that is the one requirement. And for university, they have to register with the NAD portal, and they have to upload the students' credits on the NAD portal. And once the student credits are uploaded on the NAD portal, automatically it will be reflected on the student DigiLocker. But the problem what our group thought that what can be the problems. Actually, there must be some guidelines from the regulatory bodies, because if regulatory bodies don't permit these things, then there won't be an advantage. Student will have the credit in his account, but the university will not give validity to that, because there will be no specific guidelines from the regulatory bodies. Like if say we say student have done some course on Savyam portal, but the university or regulatory bodies don't validate that. So there must be specific guidelines from the regulatory bodies that this flexibility is allowed.
Thank you, sir. I think that was really very brief. Thank you so much. May I request the National Curricular and Credit Framework team?
We were the group who were assigned to the theme on National Curricular Credit Framework. And at the outset itself, we heard from the master of National Curricular Credit Framework, and our moderator was Professor M. Krishnan, who is the Vice Chancellor of Central University of Tamil Nadu. He being the Vice Chancellor of a general university, he rattled out the whole process so easily with the complete concept of how to introduce it, and gave examples of how it has been possible in a general university to introduce the credit framework easily. So that is what we heard, and he talked about 5 sutras. In fact, those 5 sutras was what I could remember is rediscover traditional India, our own traditions, and try to inculcate in the learner. And the learner should be converted into a person who can immediately give back to the society. That was the second sutra which he talked about. And the whole aspect of credit framework is to make the learner holistic in nature. He should become a holistic learner. He gave an example of multiple entry or entry exit that can be facilitated by the National Credits Framework, and a concept of a Bihar student coming and joining the Central University of Tamil Nadu was given as an example, but there was a hitch that was told that the credits were not matching to the credit of the Central University of Tamil Nadu. So here the concept of equivalence of the credits or equivalence of the certificates came up. So that also was discussed a bit, and it was very clearly told that when you make these credit frameworks, the department has to really sit down and properly align in such a way that 3 components should be there when you prepare a credit framework. One is give some aspects of the credit or credits to the foundation aspect of the course, the core aspect of the course, and the elective aspects of the course. This is how the distribution of the credit framework should be done. The discussions again, because most of us were from Health Sciences University, and the problems came up of difficulties in implementing the credit framework, as the team 2 told that until unless the regulator tells that these things are to be brought in. And there were few things that came up as during the presentation of the INC as well as the Dental Council of India, that they have converted their curriculum into credit frameworks. Similarly, even NMC is now talking of the UG curriculum also, which is in the gazette form and has been withdrawn. But again, it will implement it that each medical college will have to start credit-based courses. So that will be a alignment happening to the National Credit Framework, and those things can be talked about. In the end, we were left wondering whether once even NMC talks about implementing the National Credits Framework, will it be possible to make it light but tight? And we were thinking it will be tight and tight. So that was what we were left wondering with. But it was a nice session. Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Can we have the team A coming over to the stage, please? Quick. Team A.
Their seats on the dais. Professor Rupa Nagarajan, Registrar, Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education and Research. Professor Dr. Narasimhan Swaminathan, Professor in Physiotherapy and Principal, Faculty of Allied Health Sciences, Srihar. Professor Dr. Selvam Jesaya, Professor and Principal, Faculty of Management Sciences. All three senior academicians in our university and leaders in introducing several educational reforms. I request all three to please chair this session. We have a total of 11 presentations in this session. Each presentation is for 5 minutes total. I request all the presenters to kindly stick to the time to enable us to have this session done successfully. There will be a bell that will ring at 4 minutes and a final bell that will ring at 5 minutes. So I'd really request you to please stick to the time.
Yeah. Thank you, Lakshmi. Good afternoon, everybody, to the last but not the least session of the day. I think many of us have been really looking forward to this free paper session, and I know there are at least 11 people who are waiting to come up and speak for a few minutes. I think Dr. Lakshmi has given us the framework of time, etc. So just to say that I'm very pleased to have Dr. Narasimhan here, Dr. Selvam Jesaya here. So what we did think is that to give everybody equitable opportunity, we will go through with all of the 11 presentations. There are 11 of them. And at the end, depending on how we are doing with time, we will have time for some questions at the end. So our request is for all the speakers to not go away, but to stay till the very end. So we'll start with the first one, Dr. A. Rekha, who's Dean, Apollo Institute of Medical Sciences and Research, Hyderabad, who's going to talk about accreditation in higher education institution, a catalyst for improvement. Dr. Rekha.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Dr. Rekha, and I bring you greetings from the Apollo Institute of Medical Sciences and Research, Hyderabad. I would like to state that I'm going to be talking on accreditation in higher education institutions as a catalyst for improvement, based upon our experience in going through an accreditation cycle. At the outset, we need to know that any kind of progress in higher education in India happened as a result of the University Education Committee constituted by Dr. S. Radhakrishnan in 1948. And today we have a plethora of accreditation bodies in both education and in healthcare. And you find that they could be national or regional in terms of geographic locations, or they can offer professional allegiance. The objective of my presentation is to look at what is the purpose of accreditation, to see what are some of the parameters that are considered, and more importantly, to see how data acquisition leads to self-introspection and improvement. Now, when we look at the EPOC definition of accreditation, it says this is a process of certification of the suitability of the program and the competence of a medical school in offering that medical education. Now, what is the need for such kind of accreditation is because it determines financial aid, it determines credit transfers, it often determines your eligibility for entrance into a particular program. And when recruiters are looking at your profile during placements, they obviously favor accredited schools. Now, the parameters remain pretty constant whether you're looking at a regional or a national or a professional outfit offering accreditation. And the theme is pretty much the same. Teaching learning elements, admission process, what is the facility available for students, and also newer concepts like gender equity and is the campus green. Now, all of us are familiar that an accreditation body serves as either a quality assurance tool or it serves as a purpose for continuous quality improvement. Now, when it is a QA tool, you find that it is pretty high stake because very often the career, the progression, the reputation, the services are all dependent upon the view of the reviewer. But when the accreditation process serves as a CQI for continuous quality improvement, it serves as an institutional portfolio. It prevents the ossification of the curriculum. It allows you to identify and ameliorate weaknesses, and it allows quality improvement as a complete ongoing process. Now, when we looked at our accreditation cycle, and you need to bear in mind that we are relatively young, even though Apollo is renowned globally for healthcare, we are only about 10 years old in the field of medical education, and our first batch of postgraduates just gave their examination. So when we looked at the accreditation process, we realized that beyond what the NMC mandates, we found that our strengths were our faculty. And we also deep dived to see what is the attrition rate and looked at the reasons for attrition. And the NIRF process made us analyze to see what were the years of experience of our faculty, and we had a mix of both the experienced as well as the youthful. Now, when we looked at research, we realized that we have pockets of excellence that contribute to the quantity and often to the quality. One thing that we recognized during the process of accreditation was that we realized that institutions that do not have a PhD program are at a disadvantage when we come to accreditation. The questions that need to be asked during accreditation is, should it be summative, should it be formative, should it be a QA, or should it be a continuous QI? An episodic sampling often is disruptive, and they can result in low periods between the process of accreditation. On-site visits are rich in experience, whereas document review are often thorough, and today we are moving towards a hybrid model. Peer reviews of an accreditor who brings in his own authentic perspective based upon his experience versus an expert who comes in to just survey the process. And very often you find that process outcomes are used as surrogates for outcome measures. So the key conclusions in my study was that the process of accreditation itself serves as a SWOT analysis. It helps to identify thrust areas needed for further growth, and it helps to redefine my mission statement to match my vision. It also helps me to align my SDGs in the global and the national arena with the vision that would take my institution forward. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and attention.
Thanks, Dr. Rekha. We request the speakers to keep up the time. So after 4 minutes, you will hear the first bell. So that tells 4 minutes are over. Please keep up the time. The next speaker would be Dr. Sangeeta Raja, Professor of Pharmacology. We invite her to present her poster titled Catalyzing Quality Integrated Academic Research Through National Research Foundation based on NEP 2020.
A very good afternoon to one and all gathered here. I am Dr. Sangeeta Raja, Professor of Pharmacology. Before I start my presentation, I have a disclaimer that this is totally a concept paper where I got the inputs for catalyzing quality integrated academic research through National Research Foundation based on the National Education Policy 2020. So I was just going through this, and this is a gist of what I could compile between the National Education Policy and how it is going to influence the National Research Foundation. So the NEP is henceforth the National Education Policy. So that has got a vision, like India's centered education system, which will be an equitable and a vibrant knowledge society by giving them a top-class quality of the education. So this is their vision. So they had introduced this in an aim of a comprehensive transformation of the education system into a very strong emphasis on research as well as an innovation. And this research foundation, that is NRF, is a key component of the NEP 2020, and it also aims to provide a robust platform for fostering a culture of research, innovation across all domains of knowledge. Basically, the benefits are this, that it is strengthening the research ecosystem. Sorry for the font there. It's a centralized body which is responsible for coordinating the funding research. Basically, we were discussing all this in our workshop here. This is to promote the interdisciplinary collaboration and to facilitate the knowledge sharing and also to foster a culture of high quality based research. There should be a commitment to research funding, financial competitive grants should be given, and a fellowship should be aided, and it should address the challenges of limited research funding, and it should enable the researchers to go to a incentivized research. It should align the research priorities with societal needs and national developmental goal, sustainable development goal, and it has to identify the key research areas like in healthcare, technology, social sciences, and need to collaborate with all this. There should be an opportunity to researchers globally and to facilitate a partnership between the different colleges or maybe the different countries together. So it should be a multidisciplinary research initiative, and there should be integration of diverse perspectives. And it should have invested in a state-of-art laboratories, because without any proper laboratory platform, any research will be obsolete. So it should have a tool and resources for cutting-edge research and an undertake of complex experimental data analysis. The challenges what we are going to face here is to implementation and governance, where the effective NRF implementation with the stakeholders, especially to coordinate them. And there should be a transparent and efficient governance mechanism, defining the evaluation criteria for research proposals and also streamlining the grant allocation process. Effective monitoring and re-evaluation of the funded projects. The NRF must also establish a stringent evaluation, that is the research quality and rigor, to assess the quality and the significance of research proposals, including the peer review mechanism. And it should have an adequate support for training researchers in research methodology, ethics, and publication practices. The inclusivity and equity could be a challenge in measuring, should be taken to address regional disparities and also to promote research participation from the underrepresented communities and the institution inclusivity and also equal opportunities to all. Establishing a mechanism to support an early career researchers, women scientists, researchers from marginalized backgrounds that would foster a diverse and inclusive research ecosystem. So finally, I would like to conclude that our the Nirmala Sitharaman, she had given a funding as a part of a Department of Science and Technology, not as a separate organization from the government. This is from the Union Finance Minister, who had granted 2,000 crore in the union budget, and it's up to us how we are going to utilize it. Thank you for the opportunity. Jai Hind.
We would like to call upon Dr. Anbarasi is to present promotion of best practices in health professional education. Please do come.
This presentation is a concept paper about the best practices in higher education. So every institution is struggling for best practices to get recognized and for sustainability. So what best practices is? It is a practice that works in a particular environment or a situation. If the practice becomes successful and data supports it, it becomes a scientific based practice or research based practice. So what are all the institution can try in best practices in teaching learning environment? One is creating a student-centered learning environment, meeting up the needs of learners in the physical setup of the institution and teachers' role. And third one is creating a safe and positive environment where the students act as more self-responsive, self-motivated and self-evaluators. So in our institution, we have a vision for benchmarking in academic improvement that can be used for improving the quality of instruction as well as administration. And the scope of this project is defining a wide range of competencies for our clinical learners, including the competency include the patient care, medical knowledge, communication, etc., etc. And then defining the role of the clinical student. That might be meeting the expectation of the patient, meeting the expectation of family, work burden, etc. And then insisting the importance of curiosity in achieving the goals. So once if the students or the learner become curious, then it is easy to achieve our goals. And creating the triads of the curious learner. Finally, the possibility of developing a curious learner in our environment. So what is the target of this project? Preparing learners for a lifetime learner and then changing the education, that is from teaching to creation. So what are the milestones we are planning? First, identifying the gap. This can be done by assessment and getting feedback, as well as by mentoring. When we are discussing with our students, we can learn a lot. Then find out the opportunities to fill the gaps. This can be achieved by creating a conducive learning environment, as well as creating a very challenging and high quality learning environment. Finally, opportunity to get identified. So this is by recognition. The institution get recognized and the individual who is doing that is also be recognized. And we have to be a role model for others. To conclude, setting objective, creating a positive learning environment, and giving opportunities to practice the objectives, and getting timely feedback or effective in doing a best practices in institutional setup. An educational organization that insists the importance of curiosity and then empowering a curious learner is the best way to create an effective and enjoyable practice environment. Thank you.
Good evening to one and all. I am Dr. Abhinand from the Department of Bioinformatics, Sri Ramachandra, Faculty of Engineering and Technology, and I am here to present my concept proposal on the topic competency-based curriculum for bioinformatics based on the National Educational Policy 2020. So before I start my presentation, I would like to say why I chose upon this topic. So whenever I try to read upon anything about the competency-based education in bioinformatics, there is absolutely no literature available on it because I don't think anybody has worked upon it so far. So I thought it was the need of the hour to start at least a proposal on this topic. To start with, what is bioinformatics? Bioinformatics is an amalgamation of computer science, biology, and mathematical sciences. It's basically a theoretical computational approach to solve many of the problems in molecular biology. And 3 years ago, we had the National Educational Policy, which is focused on providing India-centric solutions, and it was aimed at competency-based education. So what is competency-based education? As almost all of us would be aware here, it's basically trying to evaluate the student based on his mastery of certain skills and competencies rather than evaluating them based on completing a course. So the objectives of this course are of this proposal is to develop a curriculum which would be based on mastering the skills. So the basic objectives would be like to create a curriculum framework for bioinformatics based on the NEP 2020, and then to create the learning outcomes, and then to create a proper curriculum framework which would include the core subjects and the minors and also the electives. And when we talk about bioinformatics, the core subjects itself would be distributed across bioinformatics, core biology, mathematics and statistics, and also in computer science. And most important part of the objectives would be to including the emerging subjects. Emerging subjects would be including subjects like big data analytics or Internet of Things, or even machine learning and artificial intelligence, which are going to play a very integral role in bioinformatics, which has already started playing an integral role in bioinformatics. So this project and the timeline I have not been able to present over here. The timeline would be about 1.5 years, about 18 months to complete up, according to my estimates. And it will start with the comprehensive review of literature and consulting with experts, and then formulating the learning outcomes and the assessment strategies. And then we would go on to organize workshops or focus group discussions, which would help us to formulate or refine the already framed curriculum, and then to develop a detailed syllabi, and then to create teaching and learning resources. This would include creating the necessary reading material, also the educational technology. And then the last one would be to do a pilot study, and this pilot study should include students from various diverse backgrounds studying bioinformatics. So why is this so important now? So bioinformatics is at the forefront today. After almost 20 years after the Human Genome Project. Today we have the Genome India initiative by the Government of India, and then we have the IBDC, the Indian Biological Data Center, which is going to be created by the Department of Biotechnology. So the Government of India has recognized the importance of bioinformatics now. So this kind of a curriculum design would enable the students to meet the requirements of the industry. The students would be able to meet the requirement of the companies that they might go on to work. It might be academia, it might be research, or it might be pharmaceutical research, or it might be healthcare research. So whichever the students are going to work in, it's going to narrow down the distance between the academia and the actual requirement of the outside world out there. So I hope this concept proposal becomes a reality very soon. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for your time and attention. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Abhinand. And next is Dr. Prakash Bhubinathan. Please turn up to rostrum to present restructuring the program curriculum for rehabilitation professionals under Rehabilitation Council of India, National Education Policy Alignment Exercise.
Respected chairpersons, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. So this is based out of an exercise which Rehabilitation Council of India carried out 2 years back in Guwahati, where I was also part of this exercise. I participated as an expert member. So the exercise was transforming the human resource development for persons with disabilities in the context of NEP 2020. And it was a 2 days exercise. Before that, there was a methodology which RCI had framed, and they formed core committees. The core committees had discussions prior to this meeting, and in the meeting, we had set out certain an exercise which will allow us to follow guidelines of NEP into rehabilitation professionals courses. So the outcome was a roadmap to implement NEP for RCI programs in the light of RPWD Act was also designed by RP, and the presentation which I am making is based on the report which is published in the RCI website. So the suggestions we had given for speech and hearing, that is audiology and speech language pathology, 3 basic attributes of NEP can be applied: academic flexibility and multidisciplinary education, ABC, and entry-exit options. So to implement the multidisciplinary and academic flexibility, we propose that we can be forming CBC as mode of education. So choice-based credit system can be implemented there. General and domain-specific internships can be provided, which can also have certain credit values. When we restructure the CBCS, if we can define credits and define the program outcomes and the competencies, then academic bank of credit can be implemented also. Entry-exit options, since it's a professional degree program, we thought at the undergraduate level we should possibly not provide those exit options, but we can have integrated PG programs where we can have certain exit options. The scope of NEP at ASLP in Srihar, what we have done, we have added some PG multidisciplinary focus courses like medical, speech language pathology and audiology. We've introduced blended learning. We are thinking of offering multiple PG streams, 5-year PG integrated programs, MSc, PhD integrated programs, clinical doctorates in audiology and speech language pathologies. We also think we should consider auditing courses, like, we were talking about NCC and NSS. These can be considered as audited courses, and we can provide those credits as well. But what are the roadblocks in implementing it immediately? Because we are council guided, and so council directions are required for us to get a uniform competency-based curriculum which can be applied across the country. How do we do credit transfers? That we need guidelines from the council. If the flexibility is provided of entry and exit, will the council approve those things? And we also think the council should provide training of the teachers to implement NEP successfully at the college level, at the university levels. We have also thought of entry, final, exit exams. So suppose we are going to have exit at different levels, who will evaluate the competency? Will the National Testing Agency or RCA propose to come out with a competency testing for certification? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Prakash. Next, we would like to invite Dr. Vamsi Lau, Professor in Periodontics from Sri Ramachandra Dental College, to talk on gamification in health professional education. Dr. Vamsi.
Good afternoon, everyone, and I'm going to be here to throw a little bit of light on gamification in health professional education. I've chosen this particular topic because the new education policy covers two aspects. One is they insist on, I think you will be familiar that they've changed the school education to 5+3+3+4, and they've also insisted on innovation in the teaching learning aspects of education. So why has this been brought about? Because there's a need for changing the education pattern suitable to the child's or the higher education learner's psychological profile. So one of the methods which has been used both in school as well as in health professional education is the gamification concept. Gamification basically says use of game design elements in non-game situations. So in this case, it's going to be for teaching, learning, and assessment. And this is also mentioned in the NEP document on teaching, learning, and assessment. And why is this being done? So why? Because we know the challenges in teaching children or the higher education learners, keeping their attention span. So that is one of the major challenges. And second thing is that they are technologically very adaptable to that. So, but we as teachers face challenges in that regard. So gamification basically makes the learning an active process. It makes it student-centered, and the teachers become facilitators. So what I'm going to be discussing in this particular paper is one aspect. It is nice to introduce games, but is it based on some scientific learning theory concepts? That's what we'll be discussing, and what is the literature on that. So what are the various theories which are learning theories which are discussed in the literature with regards to gamification of health professional education? These include the behaviorism theory, the cognitivist theory, the constructivism theory, and the human learning theory. So what do these basically say? The behaviorism theory says that you have to provide reward for some particular action by the student and also instant feedback. Now both of these are considered as essentials in the current education student-centered scenarios, learning scenarios, where an instant feedback helps in a correction of the course for the student and improves the learning aspect of the student. The cognitistic theory has both pros and cons. The cognitistic theory basically says that the learning happens through a delivery of knowledge from the student to the, from the teacher to the student. But basically this has some issues in the gaming aspect because large amount of information cannot be transferred by games through the cognitistic theory. And regarding the constructivist theory, which says about critical thinking and problem solving skills, that is inbuilt in games where you have different levels, you have different rewards available for different levels, feedbacks available in that also. So basically there's a progression of knowledge which is happening. So games do fulfill the constructivistic theory of learning. And finally the humanistic learning theory, which talks about social comparison. So in terms of competition, so games have like leaderboards, they have rankings. So students will be kind of motivated to perform better. But that also has some negative aspects in this. So with regards to these theories, there's been some studies which have been performed, and most of the studies say that the gamification of health professional education, it works with the basically behavioristic theory. I think most of us have used Kahoot in this. How many of you have used Kahoot here? Yeah, so I have some senior people also lifting their hands. We also use Kahoots on a regular basis to just break the monotony, and Professor Swam Narasimhan sir is here, who is also a great fan of that. So basically this modifies the student behavior to listen to what we say, and we also is also kind of formative assessment for the student, and also brings in competition among the various students to try to make them take home certain key points. So what are the pros and cons of gamification in health professional education? Pros is that there is a motivation in terms of rewards, immediate feedback can be given in terms of formative assessment. Sometimes we do take classes fully as Kahoots also, and can help in building the problem solving skills. It also involves the learner in an emotional manner into the subject, and it provides a safe environment. They can commit mistakes without any risk for patients. And the cons is that there's something called the cognitive load theory, because when you create a game, you are governing so many distractors, so that can prevent the information which is actually needed by the student to be taken in. That concept also does exist, that needs to be managed in your game, and the cost involved, that is one more aspect. And competition sometimes can be a negative for few peer students. So in conclusion, I would say that gamification of education, health professional education is here to stay, and has also been brought into this new education policy, and that needs to be adapted by us. And there is evidence in the literature which says that cognitive and the affective domain-based outcomes in health professional education can be improved, whereas there's a little bit of unclarity or lack of clarity with regards to whether the skill development outcomes can be achieved by this gamification of health professional education. With this, I'd like to conclude and thank the organizers for this opportunity. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Dr. Vamsi. Next, we would like to invite Dr. Gopinath, Associate Professor, Department of Pharmaceutics from Ramachandra Faculty of Pharmacy, to present his poster on transforming pharmacy education in India, integrating NEP 2020 for competency, innovation, and entrepreneurship. Over to you, Dr. Gopinath.
Good afternoon, everybody, and my respects to all. So, the review entitled Transforming Pharmacy Education in India, Integrating National Education Policy 2020 for Competency, Innovation, as well as Entrepreneurship. The integration of National Education Policy 2020 into the pharmacy education is very much significant, with the potential to enhance the learning experiences as well as the outcomes in India. So this analysis explores the impact of NEP 2020 on pharmacy education, which includes competency-based education, research and innovation, technological integration, as well as entrepreneurship. Hence, by aligning the curriculum, pedagogy, as well as the evaluation methods along with the NEP 2020, the pharmacy education can foster the skilled as well as the adaptable workforce in order to meet the evolving healthcare needs in our India. So this review explores as I already said, the impact of NEP 2020 on pharmacy education and suggests integrating curriculum, pedagogy, as well as assessment to promote competency-based education, research innovation, technology, and entrepreneurship. The next objective is to aim to optimize the learning experiences as well as and to enhance the pharmaceutical care in India. So these are all the methodologies we can follow. The first one is strategies for aligning the curriculum by mapping the curriculum to future pharmacist knowledge, skills, as well as the attitude, and emphasizing the interdisciplinary learning and practical training for problem solving in healthcare. Number two, pedagogy in transformation in pharmacy education to enhance the learning as well as the learning and the skills through active learning, debates, activities, as well as the problem solving, and to develop the critical thinking and analytical skills for evidence-based pharmacy practice. And third one, assessment methods aligned with competencies. So the competency-based evaluation assesses pharmacy knowledge, skills, as well as the capacities. Student research and innovation skills are assessed through projects, presentations, group discussions, as well as the assignments. Technology integration in pharmacy education, which will enhance the pharmacy student learning, and the e-learning platforms and the virtual simulation provides a safe environments for practicing clinical skills. And the fifth one is the promoting research and innovation culture. So thereby we can engage the students in hands-on research for critical thinking and problem solving, and which will provide we can provide a mentorship from experienced researchers for guidance. So the next method is fostering entrepreneurship in pharmacy education by promoting entrepreneurship in pharmacy education, offering the entrepreneurial courses and workshops and seminars, and we can encourage the innovation and startup activities. And faculty development and capacity building. So integrate the NEP through faculty development programs and capacity building, provide competency-based education, training for instructors, offer faculty research and innovation training, and conduct technology-enhanced teaching and learning workshops. And stakeholders collaboration and support, next method. So by integrating the NEP 2020 in pharmacy education with the stakeholders support, ensure compliance through accreditation as well along with the regulatory bodies, and to facilitate knowledge sharing and decision making through pharmacy associations and professional groups. And last method, implementation and evaluation strategies. Establish a robust monitoring and evaluation system to enhance the methods to assess and seek feedbacks from students, parents, professors, as well as the industry professionals for curriculum improvement. So to conclude, integrating NEP 2020 in pharmacy education offers transformative opportunities to meet healthcare demands. Competency-based education, research, technology integration, and entrepreneurships are key strategies for alignment. With the collaboration and support, we can enhance the student outcomes, research advancement, and contribute to healthcare improvement. Unified efforts are needed for successful implementation and impact. Thank you for your patience listening. Thank you.
Dr. Gopinath. Now we would like to invite Dr. Cynthia Milton, Assistant Professor in English from the Faculty of Allied Health Sciences. She will be presenting her e-poster on strengths, opportunities and challenges in NEP-based English language teaching in Health Science University, ELT, Instructor's Perspective. Over to you, Dr. Cynthia.
Good afternoon all. I extend the greetings of the English faculty of Sri Ramachandra, and this is an exercise to understand the strength, opportunity and challenges of teaching ELT, English language, in health science college, in health science universities. So if you see, the NEP 2020 strongly recommends the 3-language concept of improving the proficiency and with growing importance for English. And at the health science context, there are 3 requirements for enrichment. The first one is for the academic purpose, and the second one is for professional excellence, and definitely the third one is for the research. And university like Srihar, which has already implemented English training into most of its program for 2 decades, starting with 5 programs initially and moving on to now 29 programs that have English as a ability enhancement program. At this juncture, we think that we have to take in some measures to analyze, see how much we are aligned with the NEP policy. We need to attain to the next level of excellence. So with that, the objective of our study is to review and analyze the existing English teaching practice at Srihar using NEP guidelines as a benchmark and to identify the strengths, opportunities and challenges. The method that we adopted was we reviewed the NEP 2020 guidelines, culled out all the phrases and the clauses that speaks about how English teaching should happen and how the communications proficiency of the students should be imparted. So with that as a set of checklist, we took an inventory of all the English practice that happens in our college, and we cross-matched to see how much we are aligned and what are the strengths that we have identified or listed out here. Provision of credit-based courses. So we have a set of 3 credit-based courses that has 953 students at present from 23 programs, and all these credit-based courses are all innovative, designed carefully to understand the health context, healthcare education needs. And all these have undergone very systematic course revisions, periodic revisions with our college recommends the 3-tier kind of revision system of approvals, Board of Science approvals, and every time when it is incorporated, the revision goes with the expert opinion of the subject experts also. So we make it little interdisciplinary also with the content which we take or contextual to the health science. As I said, the examples, the learning content brings in more of case scenarios, the context, the clinical context of interactions that will happen as the way to learn in the English classes. And we also prepare the students for lifelong learning by advocating them to how they can do an SDL learning. Further topics are given to them, and also we recommend the NPTEL, Coursera courses, and also we engage the students in the English literary club activities, tell them how the English needs keep growing and how they have to equip them according to it. And it is a competency base that we give here. It is the strengthening of the LSRW, the listening, speaking, reading and writing skills. Utilization of English language lab is at another strength. Use of digital resources like, as Sir said, Kahoot and other games in the class to engage the learners is at another strength. Availability of skilled instructors. We have 4 full-time faculty who are ELT experts who have taken further specialized trainings in offering ELT. And the functioning of the English Literary Club is an added advantage. We give them the leadership skill for the students and tell them how they have to make joyful learning through the activities there. And remedial language support is at another strength. Conducting interdisciplinaries is also at one more strength. The opportunities that we have is already many of the support activities have been started, but we need to establish cells, service cells that will give them more optimal kind of strength for strengthening the science writing, placement training, remedial bridge programs, and also HR training like staff trainings and other things. And challenges included are overcrowded classroom with mixed ability students, less prepared learners, achieving a desirable level in LSRW, and stereotype methods of teaching in class which the teacher or the students may be expecting, and 100% attainment of skills for employability, developing innovative teaching techniques. All these came out very beautifully, and we could understand where we stand and what we need to, what are the new strategies that we need to build in for the newly identified opportunities, and we feel that the gap should be closed to take it to the next level. We thank for the opportunity.
Thank you, Dr. Cynthia Milton. We would like to call upon now Dr. Padma Srikanth to present her paper on rollout of a unique curriculum, pen to paper for health professionals. Please do come. And the Professor and Head, Department of Microbiology, Associate Dean Research, Sri Ramachandra.
Thank you very much, sir. At the outset, I'd like to thank the organizers for giving me this opportunity to present the rollout of a unique curriculum, pen to paper for health professionals. This pen to paper is actually in project mode, so this is a research paper, and this is also an example of how research can actually feed education. The introduction to this is that, as we are all aware how scientific writing is the need of the hour, and especially in medical institutions, and how in India the medical institutions are really lagging behind against their counterparts. But there is no dearth in clinical skills or in the samples that are obtained in the labs. So how do we convert this gold mine to something that is tangible and is actually promoting publications? So this need has been fulfilled by the rollout of a proposed course, pen to paper, which aims to bridge the gap by providing a combination of contact sessions and online courses, focusing on scientific reading, writing, and working skills. The objective of the course are actually converted into modules, and they include evaluate the current skill and determine the strengths and weaknesses in scientific reading, writing, and working, and demonstrate ability to read a scientific article, which is a very basic component, demonstrate ability to search databases appropriately, demonstrate how to write various sections of the scientific manuscript, and then finally the trained candidates will actually be able to publish in an index journal, which is again the need of the hour. The methodology is a blended learning approach, and as it's shown here, there will be online learning, there will be activities, there will be synchronous interaction and independent learning, all of which have been credited with appropriate hours and credit points. The modules have been divided, like I said, into 5 modules, and the results of the research project, with the permission of the chairs, I'll really like to quickly show the qualitative feedback that we received when we conducted this in project mode has really encouraged us to get into the aspect of rollout of a curriculum. I'm just sharing this quickly in view of time constraints. This has been done using the Kirkpatrick model, and clearly there was a difference in the pre versus post, and that has given the impetus to convert something that is a hidden curriculum into a structured curriculum. Kindly bear with me for this small digression. The strength of such a curriculum, it is unique, it has been tested and validated, it's proficient faculty, both national and international, and that it is a certificate course. Learning levels of participants will be different, that is a potential weakness. There will be opportunities for creating networking. Online mode will increase the networking capacity. There will definitely be increase in publication and investment in capacity building of the faculty as well as of the students. The challenges are to, of course, attract participants. It's a first of its kind course to comprehend the science behind scientific writing and provide a hands-on platform, indigenously developed and validated. There are different concerns of how Indians write versus how those who are abroad, who publish in high impact factor journals, publish. So this actually addresses that. Publish or perish is a popular term in scientific community. Training students will help them to publish and succeed. Conclusion, the faculty will have improved their scientific writing documentation skills, develop an aptitude for using peer review comments in writing, prepare the manuscript, submit it, and also go ahead and submit for research grants without fear of rejection, since this is a confidence building exercise. I'd like to thank SPARK, the Scheme for Promotion for Academic Research and Collaboration, by the Ministry of Education for this funding, and Sri Ramachandra Institute of Higher Education and Research for giving this, for enabling me to succeed in this process. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Padma Srikanth. We would like to call upon Dr. Gayatri Ramanathan, Professor and Head, Anesthesiology, SRM Medical College, Research Center, Kotan Kalathur. She is to present her paper on development and evaluation of competency-based model for training residents in pediatric anesthesia.
Good evening, everyone. This is just something which we are halfway through in our medical college, in my department. If you ask me the question, have you implemented competency-based medical education? Yes, but it is mainly in the syllabus and in the curriculum. Have you really included, are you really training them? The answer is no. If the question is asked, are all your 9 PGs going out with the with the same competency levels, the skill, no, the answer is no. Do they all communicate well? No, the answer is no. But I'm following competency-based medical education. So we thought we will just implement it really in a small module, that is something which is really difficult, which is pediatric anesthesia. And this is just what we are doing, okay? So the introduction for this is that the central problem in anesthesia training in India is the fact that the current MD curriculum is time-based experiential learning. Although the teachers know the competencies an anesthesia provider should possess and know to train some of the competencies, it is not clear how to assess the student on whether he has achieved the desired competency level by advancing through various stages of progression. Majority of students are totally oblivious. If you ask what is the competency you should have, what is the level of the competency you should have, none of them know what it is. So the objective of this whatever small project which we took up, it is just a concept proposal, like to elucidate the competencies pertaining to anesthesia. And although CanMeds, Scottish Medical Society, all of them have given the competencies, NMC also has given the competencies, but it is not really something which we can just take it and start implementing. So we thought we will do our own work and find out what exactly is needed. Then the second thing is to develop a competency-based training module for my students in my college, for one selected competency, because it is not possible to do the whole of anesthesia. I'll retire, I'll die off also by the time. Okay, so at least for a small project, that like pediatric anesthesia we'll do, and then we'll select an educational activity and the instructional method. We'll define milestones and strictly we'll follow this, whatever we have designed. So like that, the step one, what we did is we have to define and validate the competency. So for that, we started doing the needs analysis. We started asking students, do you really know what is a competency? We have a certain set of questions, and from that we really found out these are the things which are needed. And then after that, we started a qualitative survey was done, and it is only just started doing it. So we have to come up with the result. So we are basing it on the grounded theory till the saturation is achieved. That is going on, and then following it, we'll make a study design. We have made a design, but after the qualitative research, we're going to make changes and really implement it. And what exactly we're going to use it is the EPA, entrustment, like after a certain milestone is given to each competency. Like for example, the first year student should know how to intubate well, and at what level of competency he should have. That is what is called as an entrustment. And in an entrustment, it is not a single competency which is actually checked. We will be checking like communication also. We'll be checking the 360 round, how the patient is like handling, whether he has empathy, and whether he knows the skills, whether he knows the medical knowledge. Everything together comes as an EPA. So we're going to define a few EPAs, and then we will see what level of the EPA the student is achieving at a certain point of time. So this is our study, and at the end, we are planning to do an outcome analysis based on the portfolio and also the summative assessment. I believe the outcome will be good, and thank you very much for the opportunity.
We are delighted to welcome our last speaker of the session, Dr. Prabhu Manikam Natarajan, who's come all the way from UAE. Our international participant here today. He's from Faculty of Periodontics, Ajman University, United Arab Emirates.
Thank you. I really thank the organizing committee for giving me the opportunity to stand here before you all. And the way the sessions are going on, I'm really getting more and more informations. So the way the sessions are going on, I'm getting more and more informations. I hope this information will be really helpful for me to go ahead with my practice. Yeah, thank you. So today I'm here to share my knowledge share my experiences with you all related to workplace-based assessments. So as you all know, workplace-based assessment is one of the best modality which assesses a trainee in the authentic settings. And the two important aspect of this type of assessment is to direct observation of the procedural skills which is being conducted in the clinical scenarios, as well as the feedback. So these two are the main modalities which we are following in our workplace. And then this workplace-based assessments, this relates to the highest level of Miller's pyramid and also has the potential to assess the trainees at all the 4 levels. So the hallmark of workplace-based assessment is the element of observation of the trainee's performance in real life environment, in real workplace environment, along with the relevant feedback, and thereby fostering the reflective practice. So what is the need for WPBA? So in addition to the traditional practices, the trainees confront a wide range of health care problems, and as other physicians practice, they are required to apply their professional capabilities in a competent and a skillful manner. So this WPBA entails the evaluation of a daily clinical practices employed in a clinical working condition. And see, to put it in simple words, so it is an assessment of what the doctors actually do in practice. So this encompasses a wide range of assessment strategies that evaluate the trainees in clinical settings and provide a effective constructive feedback. So what are the different methodologies which we are using? So the different tasks which we do and the tools which are used is being listed here. So for example, for observation of clinical performances, we can use mini clinical evaluation exercises and direct observation of procedural skills. So this DOPS. So in my academic training, what we do when we are doing a DOPS, direct observation of procedural skills, we assess the students over a period of 15 weeks throughout the semester. So during this time, it is not a one-time assessment. That's what I want to tell you here. So we assess them at a regular basis for the same procedure which is being repeated at every week during the clinical training. So and also for the discussion of clinical cases, the case-based discussions will be conducted by multiple faculties, not a single faculty. And this gives a this gives a constructive feedback to the students from various faculties. So thereby they can improve the way they're going to be finally attending the exams. And lastly, about the feedback. So we have a multi-source feedback, that is a 360-degree assessment, which is also being done. So in addition to this, we have mini peer assessment tool and assessment of behaviors and patient satisfaction questionnaire. So even though the authenticity of the patient satisfaction questionnaire is quite questionable, so we still depend on this for some cases. So the student, based on this based on this, we have to give a clinical, we can give a feedback from the student, from the patients as well as from the peers also, which will help us to give a feedback for the students or the trainee, so thereby they can improve their progress. So the results of previous studies shows that WPBA was useful in increasing the contact time with the supervisors, and evidence-based research shows that the systematic feedback delivered a credible source that can enhance the clinical performance for the students. So there are many methods which are being used in our day-to-day assessments, which includes use of logbooks and clinical encounters, including case-based discussions and clinical evaluations, and then DOPS, as I told you earlier. So the validity is still questionable in some of the feedbacks which we obtain. Even though the validity is questionable, we can still try to make an effective use of these type of assessments in relevant practice. So this is my view, and thank you for the opportunity.
Can we all give a big hand to all the presenters together? And then another big hand for all the people in the audience who stayed back Saturday afternoon last session. So thank you all so much. What a nice session, varied session. Before I give some last few comments, are there any questions or comment? Maybe one we can allow. We promised to finish at 4:45, so we have maybe 3-4 minutes. Would anybody like to have a question or a comment from the audience? No? Selva?
Maybe a question from our side for all of you to reflect. In these presentations, how many keywords you would have got for the NEP, related to NEP? Just reflect, just for us, for you to take home message. You know, when we are noticing here, we could get all the key words, the concepts which NEP mentioned. Probably, you know, you all should reflect, yeah.
Yeah. This session, to me, when I looked through the papers and we heard everybody here, several things stood out to me. First is it's truly a platform where people from multiple disciplines came together, and even interestingly, you know, those council-based programs which keep saying, you know, how do we get into NEP, how do we get into NEP, but here you see we have dental, you know, the faculty of dentistry, faculty of medicine, faculty of audiology, speech language pathology, faculty of pharmacy, all of whom are talking about how some of the principles that have been elucidated in the NEP, you know, can actually be adapted, included, etc. What was also very interesting to me is this, actually it's a lovely, range of topics. And real congratulations to each of the authors who so succinctly but with great clarity, you know, expressed in 5 minutes whatever they wanted to say. And it was interesting because, one, it was reflective, you know, when you looked at the papers that talked about the processes they had gone through. Some of it was prospective, and this is what we would like to do, you know. And some of it was really core with reference to a particular course or a particular method of assessment or a particular module. And I think it was interesting because they all fall in a continuum. And in the end, they are all meant for enhancing, you know, our educational processes and enhancing the quality of education. So I do want to really congratulate everyone here, and I think each of us must have learned lots of ideas from each other, and I think it's a very nice way to cap off this whole day of learning and interaction. On behalf of Narasimhan and Dr. Selvam, thank you all. And I think we are supposed to give some certificates to the participants. Yeah.
Thank you so much to all the three chairpersons. I'd like to request you to please hand over certificates to the presenters. May I request Professor Rupa first to hand over certificate to Dr. A. Rekha. Dr. A. Rekha, please come on the dais. I'll just call out the presenter's name. Please come on the dais and receive your presentation certificates. Dr. A. Rekha, Dean, Apollo Institute of Medical Sciences and Research, Hyderabad. Dr. Sangeeta Raja, Professor Pharmacology, SRM MCH NRC, Chennai. Dr. Anbarasi, Professor Oral Medicine and Radiology, Srihar. Dr. An Barasi. Dr. Abhinand, Lecturer Bioinformatics, Sri Ramachandra Institute of Faculty of Engineering and Technology, Srihar. Professor Prakash Bhuminathan, Principal, Faculty of Audiology and Speech Language Pathology, Srihar. Dr. Vamsi, Professor Periodontics, Sri Ramachandra Dental College, Srihar. May I request Professor Narasimhan and Dr. Selvam also to hand over certificates. Professor Narasimhan. Dr. Vamsi, Sri Ramachandra Dental College, Srihar. Dr. S. Gopinath, Associate Professor, Sri Ramachandra Faculty of Pharmacy, Srihar. Dr. Cynthia Milton, Assistant Professor in English, Faculty of AHS, Srihar. May I request Dr. Selvam to hand over the next certificates. Dr. Padma Shrikant, Professor and Head Department of Microbiology, Associate Dean Research, Srihar. Dr. Gayatri, SRM Medical College and Research Center. Dr. Prabhu Manikyam Natarajan, Faculty of Periodontics, Ajman University, UAE. Irukku sir. Along with the momentum. Irukku sir. I would now request Dr. Ravi, Senior Coordinator IQAC, to please felicitate our chairpersons, Professor Rupa Nagarajan. Professor Narasimhan Swaminathan. Dr. Narasimhan. Dr. Selvam Jaisaya.
A big thank you for the scientific committee led by Dr. Lata Madam, our Dean Education. They have been tuning all the abstracts that we have received and selected the abstracts that were relevant to our theme. Thank you, ma'am, and to your entire team. As we come to the end of the program, I would request a couple of the audience who are here to give your feedback. It will be useful for us to take it further. May I request anybody who would like to give feedback? Thank you. As we are getting the feedback, we would request everybody to give your feedback before you collect your certificates as well. Thank you. I've shared the QR code and the link for feedback in our WhatsApp group as well. Request all of you to kindly give your feedback. This will be very useful for us as well before we conduct any other program. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dr. Gayatri. Thank you very much for waiting to listen to the feedback. Actually, most of you are from SRMC and a handful of us are from outside. I'm from SRM Medical College, and this is a first kind of, such an IQAC conference which I'm attending. And I should tell you, it is like, it was, it has so much increased. I should say it is like, it has made me so patriotic. In the morning sessions, everything was about how to push India, to world number 2 by 2030. The speakers, all of them, the moderators, the panelists, everybody was really excellent, handpicked. And even the, afternoon, this ICMR scientist who had talked about this National Research Foundation, like everything, it has given some wings to our dreams. So altogether it was excellent. Thank you very much, Ramachandra, for such a wonderful opportunity which led us really think and work towards making India really the best. Thank you very much. Jai Hind.
Good evening, everyone, and it's my pleasure to offer my feedback on how this day's session went. As all events that happen at SRU, as I remember it, and Srihar today, it was a beautifully planned scientific session. The content, the speakers, the panelists, the topics for the workshop, obviously it is very evident that a lot of thought and planning has gone into the selection of the theme as well as the process of execution. I do agree with the earlier person who spoke about a large fraction being from Ramachandra itself. But for those of us who have come from outside, it was a very, very concise session, taking into account all the elements of the NEP. I must particularly say that I loved the lecture by Dr. Selvamurthy. The panel discussion brought into account and highlighted the role of technology, the role of the medical colleges, dental colleges, nursing college, in the implementation of the NEP. The workshops are very, very thought-provoking, and having the free paper session like Dr. Rupa mentioned, it covered the entire gamut of topics that would come under the NEP. The hospitality, as always, was excellent. I must thank all of the team members of IQAC and the quality cell of Ramachandra for this wonderful event. Thank you so much.
Good afternoon. You can consider me giving the feedback on behalf of Srihar participants. So I'd like to just say a few words in this regard. In that, I recently actually did a small course on NEP 2020 conducted by IGNOU. And one of the major lacking things in that was regarding healthcare education. Nothing was given in that course. So when this program was announced and we came to know about that, we were very happy. And it's a big thanks from our side to the organizing committee, the IQAC team, because we needed to know what is going to happen in healthcare education with regards to NEP 2020, because those were addressed today, and certain things they were very clear, certain things there are some gray areas, and I think overall the program was addressed the need of the hour. So in that way, I think this is a very successful program. And we had people all over the country as well as some international participants. So that reflects the success of this program. Thank you very much.